What should you do when your negative thoughts come up while you're consciously manifesting? Should you flip every one of those thoughts? Or stifle those negative thoughts and emotions by pushing them down? Are we supposed to pretend they don't exist? Is being delusional truly the solution? So, my name is Tia. I like to talk about conscious manifestation based on my personal experience with the law of assumption. I've definitely listened to a lot of different voices out there, which for me was a very overwhelming experience and a source of mixed messaging. Anyways, hopefully I can shed some light based off of my journey so that you don't make any of the mistakes that I made. Okay, in this community, we've definitely heard it all. Coaches telling us to flip our thoughts or ignore our thoughts, observe our thoughts but don't react to them, or to be delusional. And supposedly, somehow, someday, all of our negative thoughts and fears and assumptions are supposed to go away. So that's supposed to be the fix. And for me, this was simply not effective. I've been at this since 2021, so I've learned a lot. I've tried all of these suggestions, and truthfully, I felt like most of these made my negative thoughts and fears come back even stronger and more frequently, sometimes even to the point where I felt paralyzed. It's like the negative thoughts just kept coming and coming and coming. Also, I didn't feel good in my body, like I could just feel the anxiety throughout my body. I always felt like I was lying to myself, and I found myself doubting this process and just wanting to give up. That's because, like I said, I just didn't feel good. I'd try to implement all of the advice I heard, like just ignore the 3D, be delusional, pretend the problem isn't there, right? I mean, that's what we're told to do. As much as I tried to ignore the 3D, my bad assumptions, my thoughts and fears, I still found myself very fearful of those thoughts and the 3D. Whenever I saw something I didn't like that was related to whatever I was manifesting, I'd immediately shut down and just close my eyes and tell myself, nope, that didn't happen. I'm the operant power of my reality and nothing can happen without my say-so, and so on and so on. But I wasn't really owning what I was saying. They were just words, and I was really saying them because that's what we're supposed to say in the law of assumption community, right? I'm the operant power, I'm the god of my reality, all that stuff. But a lot of us are not really embodying that, which is absolutely necessary if we want to be successful at this manifestation game. So deep down, I was terrified. And like I said, all I had to go off of was coaches and YouTubers telling me to just, ignore the 3D, it'll go away. And I kept doing that even though it wasn't going away, and I genuinely felt worse than before even starting, before I even knew about conscious manifestation. How is that even possible? And knowing what I know now, it makes complete sense why a lot of these suggestions ended up backfiring. Essentially, I realized that most of these suggestions that I was implementing were really working to keep my fears alive. This is not what we want as conscious manifestors. It's actually extremely counterproductive. Our goal as conscious manifestors is to get to a place where our negative thoughts don't move us. They don't make our hearts skip a beat or make our stomachs drop. Alright, we want our fears and negative thoughts to be absolutely meaningless and completely insignificant. We want them to be previous negative thoughts and fears, and if they do come up again, we just want to face them okay, cool. They should not elicit any sort of negative reactions within us. They should not send us spiraling. We should not be giving them that much power. And one thing to note about negative thoughts and fears is that they are a product of the state of consciousness we're currently occupying. And some of us have been occupying this state for a very long time, maybe even our entire lives. But you really don't have to worry about this that much, because as soon as you occupy a more favorable state, pretty much all of your negative thoughts and assumptions and beliefs and fears tend to dissipate because they were associated with your old state of consciousness. But what is important to note is that we use our thoughts, meaning we keep a mental diet, and our imagination to assist us when making the shift. And this is what I really want to talk about, because I think a lot of people talk about the mental diet in a way that makes us scared of our negative thoughts and leads us to think that we have to be perfect all of the time. And that's just crazy. We're human at the end of the day. This is not a good representation of a good mental diet, okay? The mental diet is not ignoring, it's not pretending that your problems don't exist, it's not being delusional. So it's not your negative thoughts that you have to fear. It's really all about the meaning that you're choosing to give those negative thoughts, okay? You're the one who's assigning them meaning, you're the one who's making them significant. If you say you're a conscious manifester, then you must understand that you really are the operant power. This is so huge, okay? You have to understand this on a conceptual level. You have to ground yourself in this belief. If you do not deeply identify with this truth, then you're going to make conscious manifestation really tough for yourself. So if you have a bad circumstance in your 3D, you do not ignore it, you do not fearfully avoid it, you decide that this thought or fear or circumstance that I just experienced means absolutely nothing. This is how you take your power back. Let's say you're affirming that you're the most important person alive, and then let's also say that you experience someone ignoring you. In that moment, you have a decision to make. Remember, you are the operant power. And as the operant power, you could either internalize that and tell yourself, why doesn't anyone pay attention to me? Why am I not important? Right? You can decide to make that true about yourself. Or option B, you could simply ground yourself in your mind and stay faithful to your new thinking and tell yourself, okay, fine, I just got ignored, but this does not mean anything about who I am. I still know that I'm the most important person alive. Do you see? We're not doing this thing where we are being in denial and delusional. Okay, being delusional is not the solution. Your mind is way too smart for that. You cannot fool your higher self. At the end of the day, it's your choice. So the same thing goes if you're manifesting your specific person and you're doing really well with your techniques, but let's say in the 3D you see them acting unfavorably, or you could even be having negative thoughts about the situation like, they don't want me, I'm not important to them. Again, you have to remind yourself that you truly are the operant power of your reality. You can either follow that negative thought to the point where you're really internalizing and identifying with it, or even fearfully avoiding it. But again, all you're doing is giving your power away and keeping what you don't want alive. Just know that you can simply tell yourself, okay, that just happened, but it doesn't mean anything. I know I am wanted and important. It's literally a choice, a decision. And the more you understand this, the easier this process will be for you. So what we need to understand is, why doesn't avoiding and ignoring work? That's because you're not being honest with yourself. You really cannot lie to your higher self. When you fearfully avoid or ignore your negative thoughts and circumstances, what you're actually telling your mind is that this thing is real. So back to the specific person scenario, if you're affirming that they only have eyes and desire for you, and then all of a sudden you get a negative thought like, nope, they don't want you, you're crazy, and you're really identifying with those thoughts, in that moment, just by identifying with that negative thought, you are continuing to impress it upon your consciousness. You are continuing to keep it alive. You are continuing to say that this is true and they don't want me. And just like that, you've fallen into the previous unfavorable state. But what I want you to get from this video is that you really are the operant power. You really are in control of where your awareness goes. And if you've listened to any of my previous videos, you know that we manifest what we are aware of. So if it's in your awareness that you're fearful of something, then unfortunately that's what you're going to end up manifesting more of. I know a lot of the coaches tell us to ignore our circumstances and to be delusional. Well, let's just take a step back and ask ourselves, how's that working for us? Has it actually yielded us the results we want? Is our specific person back? Or did we manifest our new specific person? Do we have our dream car? I know for me, and I can only speak from my own personal experience, but the ignore and be delusional tactic, it did nothing but make my circumstances worse, as well as make my mental state worse. It made life not fun until I learned that I truly had to give my circumstances and negative thoughts and fears absolutely no meaning. I had to give them no power until I learned that I really am the operant power of my inner experience. Only then did my 3D actually start to shift. And it really is my choice, okay? It's our choice. No one is forcing me to believe and identify with my negative thoughts. Literally nobody. It's just me. And you'll realize that it's just you. And it's crazy because all of these years I carried around these beliefs like, since I've been given less than I deserve, then I guess I'll just keep accepting less than I deserve experiences. But the truth is, I just opted into that thinking. I chose to believe that about myself. I could have just as easily told myself, okay, fine, this has been my general experience, but I know I deserve way better treatment. I know my worth and value, and I will no longer be accepting less than experiences. I will no longer be accepting less than treatment. Listen, your fears and negative thoughts, when they come up, especially when you're manifesting something better, they just need to be dealt with differently. It's like they want you to choose better for yourself. When those thoughts and fears pop up in your head, think of it as an opportunity to either help shift yourself into a new state, or you can fearfully avoid it or identify with it. And all that's going to get you is the same, right? It's going to keep you staying exactly where you've been this entire time. It's your choice. The more you go within your mind and ground yourself in the truth that you are the operant power of your inner reality, then the easier this becomes because you're truly embodying the state you want. And sometimes when it's a really unfavorable story that you're working with, right, that you're trying to change, these thoughts and fears tend to come up again and again because that's all you've known. You're changing your identity, and our subconscious minds, okay, our egos, they feel so comfortable, so familiar in that old state that they're literally hanging on to any shred of it. Your ego does not want you to change. It's really opposing that change. You have to understand this, okay? When you're working with unfavorable stories, your mind does not want you to be someone new. Your mind is terrified of becoming something new. It's terrified of becoming something unknown, even though whatever is unknown is actually better for you. But your job is to stay faithful to your new self by giving those old thoughts and fears no meaning, and you're going to have to interact with them in a new way that's implying, I'm not scared of you anymore, there's no place for you in my new reality, right? Thank you, next. Facing your fears and assigning them no meaning is a very important part of this process. That is what I found for myself. And that's pretty much the thing that helped me shift. It's that ownership of the fact that I really am the operant power of my reality. So you're going to want to do this every time your negative thoughts and fears come up, as many times as it takes. But this time, what's different is that you're dealing with those mental storms from a place that's not scared anymore. Techniques are excellent, but what you do outside of techniques is just as important. Your mind cannot be all over the place. To embody the state really means to embody the state. This is why Neville stressed the importance of the mental diet so much, because you don't want to uproot the seeds you're planting. And I, unfortunately, did this a lot when I was still listening to the ignore the 3D and pretend it doesn't exist advice. And even when I was farther along into my journey, I would just keep experiencing hot and cold. Some things I could manifest so easily, and other things I simply could not. So please stop ignoring the 3D fearfully. If anything, it should be more along the lines of screw the 3D, okay? even when your 3D wants you to believe that you're not enough or wanted or chosen or whatever, what you have to do is ground yourself in the knowing, okay? You have to tell yourself, all right, I saw it, but screw the 3D. I know I'm still enough. I know that I am wanted. I know that I'm chosen. I'm wealthy. I'm healthy. I'm loved. I'm important, and so on and so on. All right, so if you keep facing your fears and consistently not letting them sway you, and you don't identify with them because you know that you are the operant power and it's ultimately your decision, then soon enough you'll notice how those thoughts and fears just dissipate and not have a huge impact on you like they did before. Your mind starts to become quiet, your thoughts become healthier. The law of assumption is very simple, because all it is just that whatever you're consciously aware of, whatever you believe to be true about yourself will be outpictured and then it will be reflected back to you. But it's not the easiest thing to do, especially at first. Especially if you have so many negative assumptions and beliefs that you're holding on to, okay? But stick to your new thinking and watch how your internal experience completely changes. That's the first thing to shift, and then the 3D catches up. But your job is to maintain your inner experience. You are the gardener, and it's your responsibility to keep and protect your beautiful garden. It's your job to water the plants, take out all the weeds, rake the dried leaves, and I don't know anything about gardening, but you get the point. This is No Fear 2024 and beyond, really. Okay, that's pretty much all I have to say. Thanks for listening if you've made it this far, and I hope this helps.